I love you so. The people ask me how I've lived till now. I tell them I don't know. The goods of life they stand. How lonely life has been. Begin again the day you took my hand. Yes, I know how lonely life can be. The shadows follow me, and the night won't set me free. I don't let the evening get me down. Now that you're around me, and you love me too. Your thoughts are just for me. My spirit free. I'm happy that you do. The book of life is brief, and once the page is read, all the life is dead. That is my belief. Yes, I know how lonely life can be. The shadows follow me, and the night won't set me free. But I don't let the evening get me down. Now that you're around me.
Now live from the glorious city of Boca Raton, it's the Brooklyn Cafe Show.
It's lunchtime and the Brooklyn Cafe is open for business. Live from the AMP Media Studios, Dawn and Freddie S. and their team are ready to serve up a huge portion of fun for lunch with friends and neighbors. So let's break open that lunch pail and unwrap that sandwich you brought and take a front row seat in the Brooklyn Cafe and get ready to enjoy some humor and hot topics. It's time to get a healthy serving of hope and happiness to help your day go by with a smile. Your hosts, Dawn and Freddie S., are ready to talk about food, health, dating, or just plain dream making. If you have a story to share, movie review, restaurant critique, or just a coincidental thing that happened to you, call in toll free 888-994-4995, Studio A right now. Sit back and enjoy your lunch break at the Brooklyn Cafe. Here are your hosts, Dawn and Freddie S.
And that is Josh. He looks like Grandma Moses over there. Like the hat.
Nice hat.
Like the hat.
Thank you to Baxton for opening up this show. I've been told it is Spy Wednesday as we are going through Holy Week.
I never heard of that.
I hadn't either, but we've got our
Maybe Frank can clear that up.
soothsayer Frank Ruffolo joining us today, and I have to tell, I keep telling you, oh my gosh, we're going to get into all of his books, but all I can say is you have to get your copy today because there is no coincidences.
He talks about that too?
No, but he talks about a lot of things that seem to be present in my life and in our world right now. And he wrote these books a very long time ago. So we're going to talk about all that. Happy Wednesday, everyone. As Katie says, it's Hump Day.
That was a cue.
Thank you very much.
It's funny. I was going to ask Frank because you brought that up today, and to see if Frank knew what it meant.
What, Hump Day?
No. No hump day. No hump day.
What?
No hump day. But in your case,
Hump day? What, Spy Wednesday? Frank's the one who told
Spy-
us.
is that a true thing about Spy Wednesday?
By Wednesday. Today is the day that
Talk it
Caiaphas
to that mic, Frank. Grab it. Today is the day that Judas got his 13
Today is
coins.
the day that Judas was given the 30 coins of silver to spy on Jesus to tell Caiaphas where he was. So that's why it's called Spy Wednesday.
I never heard of Spy Wednesday, but I know the story about Judas doing that noble act. You know, it's funny because Christ told him, go do what you got to go do, which was rat him out. And that's where the word, the rat, you don't rat people out, comes from, actually. But Jesus told him, listen, you got to do what you got to do, because he already knew what the plan was, and he played into it.
Frank was giving me, and Chris were giving me a rundown on the timeline of the week, because I was trying to figure out, somebody asked me, when was Jesus crucified? And I said, if Jesus was at the Last Supper, I kind of lost, and then I know it's 3 days from his crucifixion to Easter, so they were giving me the timeline on the week.
He was crucified on Friday,
They tell me,
and then risen on Sunday, correct?
you're right, so Passover was Thursday, crucified on Friday, Easter was Sunday. or
Now,
risen on Sunday.
these events occurred at different times. It's not like they occurred all at the same time. The Passover was first, and then the story of Christ was second. So, you know, you got to look at the different time things. It's not like it all occurred at one time.
Right, so we go into Passover. We start Passover tonight. So happy Passover for all of you that celebrate. Chag Sameach, as Vismaya said.
And
Happy
I was,
healthy.
and on the Catholicism side, today is when he was arrested as well, wasn't he? Praying in the garden, Frank. Jesus was arrested today, and
No.
and the process began.
He was arrested on Friday,
I thought he was crucified on Friday.
same day.
No, I thought he was arrested and he was slapped around. And
Well, he
everything
was
else.
arrested. He was arrested Thursday night,
Tomorrow night.
tomorrow night.
And
After the Passover supper, he was arrested.
Yeah, but they also sent him to Jerusalem, and then they sent him back. I think it was tonight he was arrested, and all this stuff happened, and then they sent him, Pontius Pilate sent him away.
Yeah, Passover was Thursday night.
No, I understand that, but I think that Pontius Pilate didn't want anything to do with this whole political mess, and he sent him to somebody else who sent him back to Pilate.
Right. That was all Friday. That was all Thursday, early in the morning.
And
on
then they
Friday.
crucified him at midday, is the way it was explained
Right.
to me. It's a real bizarre story.
Well, what's
because-
really interesting is how it all plays out in the exact same timeline this week, because Passover is tonight and tomorrow night. Thursday, we celebrate the first 2 nights of Seder.
But it wasn't at the same time, you know. It was different when Passover began. I mean, wasn't Moses the one involved with allegedly? with
Passover
all that stuff?
began back in the beginning, but we all commemorate Passover as the Last Supper and all of that on that timeline of that week, knowing that that wasn't the first Passover Seder ever. That was the following of Judaism at the time.
So the calendars have come together over time. They were far
Well,
apart at one time.
Well, the Jewish calendar is based on the full moon of the month of this month in the Hebrew calendar. And when they come into alignment, I was talking to Chris on the same week, I think it's pretty amazing and pretty special because it brings all of these religions and people together and cultures and say, you know what, if you actually look at the pieces of Judaism and Catholicism and Christianity, how many things are actually similar?
Yeah.
Right? It's just people trying to come together in belief and faith and hope and light and all of the things we talk about.
Well, it was ironic because I asked a lot of questions to Harry, my brother, when I was a kid, about Jesus. And what he did was took me to see Jesus Christ Superstar, the play. I didn't understand nothing. So and then the movie came out, and I understood everything from the movie. And I used to watch this they used to give it on Good Friday. It's funny, they had Moses on Sunday,
Yep.
and they had Good Friday, they had Jesus Christ Superstar, and I have the album and the music and all that. And if you listen to what's happening, it depends on what version, because they have modern version because they
John
wanted to hit
Legend
the
did
millennials.
it a couple years ago, didn't he? I'm sure they'll be airing it again this week.
Well, it's the one, the most famous one is the one that has the rock and roll involved in it. And then there's another one that was filmed in the desert of Israel. You guys have a desert somewhere out there.
We all have
And
a
they-
desert out there
and,
somewhere.
and they filmed one out there. And it was those movies that taught me to understand the whole complexity, all the political deal and all this. And even back then, they had political strife like we're having today about somebody who had a different philosophy. So Moses had his run-in too. I mean, that stick he carried, I got my Moses stick in the back.
I have to tell you though, I read Gabriel's Chalice, and I started reading I don't say it right, Frank.
Tres Archangelis.
Angelus. Tres Archangelis. On my way to Aaron's wedding. It's a long book, and I don't have a whole lot of time to read, but when I get to read in a good chunk of time, my timing on this, there is never a coincidence, because what he talks about in this book is hope, faith, the three archangels that we talk about all the time, Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel, which
Look at this, I got my Moses stick. Yes.
and
Take that deal.
Orion's belt I want to talk about. But Frank, in this book, you also talk about going back to the moon.
Well, we were on the moon in Gabriel's Chalice,
Yep,
so we're still on the moon.
we're
in
still
that
on the
book.
moon, but where are we right now? What are we sending back up?
Oh,
Well, we're
4
going back to the moon.
astronauts.
Exactly, we're going back to the moon, and we haven't been to the
But
moon.
wait,
There's more.
There's a little bit more. They are prepping something on the moon to go to Mars. So this flight is going up as with something in the cargo bay that they're going to use to lift off to Mars. So there's going to be a couple of adventures to the moon and then to Mars.
And I think you have a book called Xanther Terra, where you
We're
go
on,
to
yeah,
Mars,
we're
right?
on Mars.
Yeah, they're on Mars. Just saying.
Well,
The man knows what's happening.
Well, the interesting aspect to what's going on is that for some reason, we've decided that Earth is not big enough anymore. So they're going to other planets. And the adventure here is that if they go to Mars, then what's next?
Ask Frank. What comes after that book?
Comes after Mars. Well, we found a planet that's very close that has signs of life on it. So that may be the next one. We may go and visit people that are already out there on Proxima Centauri. Proxima B is called the name. The planet's called Proxima B. It's in the Alpha Centauri solar system, I believe. It's very close, only like 4 light years away.
Only 4 light years away. You know how much a light year is?
I'm telling you, I'm reading this book, and then breaking news. We're sending people to the moon.
Yeah.
Frank's books are on the moon.
Well-
Then we talk about aliens with Russell and Sally all the time.
Lola came in, she says she's from Mars, and she has red hair to prove it. That
Right,
was,
so
I thought that was
she's seen
hilarious.
the red planet. But then Frank brings up this whole other question of the things that are left. And maybe is it aliens, or maybe is it our angels that have left these signs?
Possible.
Possibly. So I said that to Sally, and she looked at me. I said, you got to read Frank's books. I said, because then it poses the question, aliens or guardian angels, archangels, that are actually leaving these messages? It's a lot to ponder, but yet the man hasn't been wrong yet. And about keeping faith. In fact, I'm reading this book now during Passover and Holy Week.
Well, I don't know if you saw the news, but I don't know if I should say it. There is a report that came out of England that they have unlocked the secret to aging, which is a very scary thought. The problem with unlocking the secret to aging is that who wants to live till you're 1,000? Who wants to live till you're 200? Because they can slow cells down in the aging process. And I think that the reason that they're coming up with this has a lot to do with travel intergalactic, because you don't want to be 107 to go 4 light years away.
Oh, you should read the book.
It's in there too. Is that in there too?
About what?
Cracking
Egypt?
aging?
Well, there's someone who has
Not
an
really
illness.
aging, but I do bring up a point about I relate the archangels to aliens in that book. I don't
you should be
I don't know
here.
if I don't know if Dawn read that part yet, but
You should be here when Sally and Russ and Lola and Lynn and who else was here? There was somebody else in here.
because there's an event in there were two events that were very linked together that happened in Russia during the turn of the century, from the 19th to the 20th century. That today there's still many different theories as to what happened, but
So I'm
It was
reading
called-
that part and thinking,
it's called the
angels,
Tunguska event.
angels, aliens.
But what's a Tunguska? What happened?
There's a section in Siberia where all the trees were blown down in a circular field. They're all blown out circularly. And in the center of that, no trees have ever grown back. They don't know how that happened. It had to be some sort of explosion that blew all the trees down. And they have found remnants in the area, in the soil, that indicate it was a nuclear explosion, but there was no nuclear power that we know of around 1900 when this happened. Now there's another area of Siberia right near there. It's called the Area of Death, where there's a section of Siberia where the tundra, it doesn't freeze. It stays slushy. And they sent scientists back in the early 1900s to investigate that area because they had reports from local tribes or the nomad tribes that lived in Siberia that there were metal domes in where that slushy part was.
But is there something underground? Did they bury radioactive material that is
So
not leaking?
when they sent the scientists to investigate this area, they walked out in the middle of the slushy area and they probed it and they hit something metal. But they couldn't stay there because the scientists were dying and they stayed you too long. They got very sick. Some of them died, similar to what would happen if you get radiation poisoning. So that area is still blocked off today. You can't go in there.
And nobody, is this like Chernobyl? Nobody can go in
They
there?
can't go in there. They don't know what's in there, but you can't go in there. But reports from the local nomad tribes that used to live in that area said during the time of this Tunguska that they saw rays of light coming down from the sky and rays of light coming up from that zone of death. And then there was a big explosion.
The Russians blew something up.
So
Well, Frank talks about whether
a lot of the ancient alien theorists think that maybe that was some sort of attack from spaceships being attacked. There was some sort of war going on between spaceships, one on the ground and one in the air. And what I theorized that it was that in my Tres Archangelis, which is 3 archangels, the main premise of that book is the archangels are the watchers and the protectors of Earth. And the 3 archangels, Raphael, Gabriel, and Saint Michael, are the 3 protectors of Earth. And they are the ones that shot down that spaceship that caused the Tunguska effect. And they left a powerful weapon in the ice. And the premise of the book is we set things in motion that causes a large asteroid to come crashing toward Earth, which would be a life-ending event if it hits. And Jesus tasked the same family in Gabriel's chalice to fix it. He said, well, I can fix this. I can stop this because of what you did and what you caused, you have to stop this asteroid. And you have to find the 3 keys which unlocks the power of the archangels which will stop it. And that's what's buried in the ice in Siberia. And the family has to find those 3 keys or else.
it's really
Read the book to
interesting.
find out.
It becomes riveting, and I'm sitting and I'm reading and I'm reading, and he has me captivated to see what's next. And there's a lot of travel, there's a lot of things in the news. Hi, Cece.
ACC.
That are going on currently. But what I love so much about the book is it's about hope and the power of prayer and faith and the power of the angels. And don't think that it's only the good side. Frank brings in the fallen angel and how the good and the bad and what can good overcome the evil and through faith. So to me, it's a book of faith. And I was going to ask you, when you market this book, is it marketed as spiritual or religious book?
It's marketed as a faith-based science fiction.
Because it really is, and it opens up a whole nother genre of, besides what it is as science fiction.
And a
It's
lo-
faith-based, it's
And a lot of people
spirituality.
think, how do you have faith-based science fiction? It's, well, without faith or without God, there is no science.
And it's not religion, it's faith. It's whatever you believe in. It's the power of prayer, hope, light, and greater being, the angels, whatever you're thinking it is, and all of that.
Well, it's ironic because nowadays, kids that are millennials or younger, or kids going through things right now, there's a lot of non-faith, and more they want explanations, and then they look at the catastrophes and they need someone to blame, and they say, well, why would a superior being allow all this to happen? Which is really ironic because given choice, we choose the bad. So why do we expect something else to fix it?
And you talk about that in the book also. God says, listen, I can't fix what you all created a mess over
Yep.
there.
You created a mess.
Fix
I
it.
can fix it, but you got to fix it.
Right. So Frank talks about that in the book.
How do you learn anything if you don't?
Yeah,
if you
that's right.
If he fixes it, how do you learn anything? Why do you continue to do it? Why is it that we continue to do what we shouldn't do, as opposed to maybe stopping it and fixing and sort of getting back to ground zero?
Well, here's the ticket. If we don't fix it, and we keep going on the way we're going, God will fix it. And you don't want him to fix it.
Well, the easiest way to fix a mess is to make it disappear and start all over again.
But he
It's
did that
pretty-
once.
It's pretty common, of course, but that's a pretty common denominator. And given choice, if you're given a chance to do it right the second, third, fourth time, don't you think by then you should learn?
Well, it
Interesting
took the
things to
Israelites
learn.
40 years to learn.
But look at the
And
world.
that
Look
should
at the
have been like a
world
10-day
wars.
trip.
Look at the world wars, Frank. World War I, World War II. I mean, how stupid can stupid be? They're taking stupid to another level. I mean, this is complete
It's
stupidity.
ego.
It's
It's
ego.
pride and ego.
It's ego.
Well, then maybe we shouldn't have people making decisions that have those two traits. Maybe those people have to be dealt with individually. Why is it that the mass of many, and then people will believe stupid? Stupid must be like gum on the bottom of your shoe, because the stupider a person acts, the more you think that they're right. I don't get that.
It's not the stupidity. I think it's the noise.
Come
and
on,
it's
Hitler was stupid. Mussolini was stupid. These are hungry, crave people.
Evil.
They turn ugly into evil, and then they continue to do it. But you have people like Putin. You have people like the guy from North Korea. I mean, this is just getting out of hand. Now China is making threats about Taiwan. Really? I mean, we won't make World War III. Nobody's going to survive that.
You even talk about the nuclear weapons in this book and what happens to them. Frank, you address a lot in this book that you never really talk about.
Well, right after Judgment Day, we're going to enter 1,000 years of peace.
Because there'll be nobody here.
Yeah, because only the people that'll be here are the people that chose wisely on Judgment Day. So the civilization's quantity is going to be quite less than it is now. So what happens then is, during the 1,000 years of peace, they dissolve or they get rid of, supposedly, all the weapons of war. But in my book, they find one that was left over in an old satellite that they couldn't reach because it went quiet. And they try to use those weapons of war to stop them. So they try to use those weapons of war that are in orbit to try to stop the asteroid from hitting Earth. Of course, I'm not going to say if it works or not, but
the amount of information that you have in your books that And I have to ask, I know your muse is Archangel Uriel. When you're writing, do you hear like bullet points, right, about this, this, and this, or are you actually given the story, or do you expand on it?
It's I put the words on the page and it just comes. It's like I open up a faucet. It's not like I hear voices saying, do this, do this. When as I'm typing, as the characters get into something, then the story continues through the characters.
Now, it's an interesting precedent you have of choice in this book. Interesting who gets chosen to go back on the mission to the satellite. And then I turn on the news, and my brain has to, honestly, Chris, go between Frank's book and the news. And I have to come back to reality and think, I'm reading Frank's book, but I'm actually watching a live news broadcast. It's the craziest feel. You should really start with Gabriel's Chalice. But when you see what's going on, what Frank wrote about how many years ago?
That book I wrote in 2010.
And that's the amazing thing is I'm watching the news and I'm reading the book and I'm thinking, but this is a book.
It's 13 years ago.
Right? You're talking about faith-based science fiction versus reality. And is it really science fiction or is it
Well, I mean, you look at everything that's going on today. I mean, you get bewildered because somebody can talk about something from 12, 13 years ago. And I look at COVID that took over the world.
That was in book one.
And shut it down. And I am mystified that we came out on top I mean, millions died, I get it. But it could have been a whole lot worse. It could have been the those that found a solution to the puzzle. They died first. And then there will be nobody to find a solution. And then this is just a matter of time when everybody gets wiped out. Because if you didn't get COVID, you're one of the few. I don't care what case you got.
I think people got it. It's just how sick did you get?
It's very rare. Everybody got it. Everybody. You may have gotten a runny nose from it, but everybody got it. The next time, we ain't gonna be so lucky. But I just get amazed that when I see New York City looks like a barren, empty land. I see Florida, Meisner Park, empty. Because we used to come to work and I used to drive around. And I saw the pictures and my sister was in New York and I could not believe that at that moment, we still haven't learned our lesson.
Here's the thing. He wrote about this in Gabriel's Chalice, and that was book one. 2 lung diseases and what it took, I don't want to say cure, but to get people through it at the time, to heal from it.
Yeah, but I'll give you this.
Again, it's reading Frank's book
Frank,
and watching the TV.
Yeah, but Frank wrote about it.
Yes.
And let's say that people say, oh, Frank has a vivid imagination. Let's just call it that. And then it occurs. Not only does it occur, it occurs everywhere.
Yeah.
There were people dying in France and Italy by the thousands by the minute, right? And you look at all that destruction. And Frank still wrote the book, and he talks about, here's your warning shot. And then we go right back to stupid.
And do it again.
And we're right back in the middle of what brought us to that moment again.
So here's what makes me nervous, Frank. You're right. Wait till you see what happens to our financial institutions. And knowing what you do and what you write.
You have no idea what's coming.
I'm a little scared when he makes a post because he is who he is.
Well, there's an old saying that a prophet doesn't really tell about the future. A prophet just tells the truth.
True.
That's right. Giving choice is always given. So, figure it out.
We have free will. We have a choice.
That's right. That's right. That's
Choose
been,
wisely. That's all I can say.
That's been since the beginning of time. But, man can't pick the obvious choice. So man, to me, is just doomed to continue to be stupid. For lack of a better word.
And people lose faith. And what happens in whatever religion, in my opinion, you believe in, sometimes it gets watered down and becomes tradition. which is fine. It's a family tradition. But if you lose your sense of faith and really what it is in your heart and soul of who you are and what you believe in, and we're busy watching all our news broadcasts versus what this week really means, then I think you have to get a copy of all of Frank's books. I had someone in here yesterday, and he saw the cover to this book, and he says, I love Orion's belt. He says, something about Orion's belt speaks to him.
Yeah.
What is it about Orion's? And you talk about what happened in Siberia and how the domes are related to the stars in Orion's belt.
Well, there's basically 7 archangels, 7 major archangels. And don't ask me their names because I don't remember them all. But there's 7 basic archangels. And if you look at Orion's belt, there's 7 basic stars in Orion's belt.
True that.
And my premise is that's where they stay.
It's
seven
amazing. It
basic stars.
resonates with so many people. And then you got the Freds, and I love the Freds.
You love the Fred?
I love the Freds because here you sit.
That's just a military acronym that's given to something.
Thank you.
That's given to something that's advanced electronically that they don't understand. So they call it Fred.
And there you are.
Not me.
There's so many things that are in alignment that I love having Frank here. And I couldn't have had the discussion without reading the book. So it makes it a lot more understandable, and you're going to understand it a whole lot more. And this week, more than any week, I hope people find their faith.
Well, the funny thing is that, you're reading Frank's books and there are light bulbs that are going on.
And I
in your
text
life.
you, and he laughs.
And, you got to sort of weigh it out in your belief and things you see and judgments you make. And like Frank says, there comes a time when you have to try to explain to people, or just read the book and see what you got. Now, I gave Josh a book to read from another author. Josh, did you finish the one about the almost? How did you find that book?
He needs a mic.
I know, but did you think that book? Does that book does that book talk a lot about what's going on around us currently as well?
It gives you a lot of insider information. I kind of really like it.
And Josh is taking notes.
No, but it's actually really good.
It is good.
It's
good.
giving you like a lot of insider information that obviously you don't learn about every single day, because it's talking about how the Islamic religion and Muslim religion is being treated around the world, and especially in America, because of certain attacks that happened on our own soil.
Correct. And that book was written by one of the guys who built the first bomb that went off in the original World Trade Center. And he was working for the CIA and the FBI, or one or the other. And he could not last to the last day when it went off, because they caught wind. They had this feeling about him being a double agent, so they made him build the last part of the bomb in Jersey, naked. And he says, men shouldn't be naked in the same room. I mean, he went down this whole road to try to stop them from taking his clothes off. So he went to the bathroom and he flushed what he had on him for they were hearing devices. And then they threw him out. So he told them, listen, it's going to happen in this month. I don't know what date. I don't know what time. And he wrote this book. And that's some of the things he wrote in there.
And he said he went to the CIA. He went on all these people. There's like different 2 types of CIAs. There's the suits, and then there's the bushers. It's something with a B. But the suits, they stay in the office. They don't know what's going on. And then they have these other people that walk around the streets and get the real information from the streets, because that's where everything happens and all that. So.
And it's ironic because he was in the witness protection program, and the suits changed the witness protection program, and he was no longer making money, and he had a family, and he couldn't sustain his family because they used to move him around all over the United States. So he happened to be in Florida, and they told him that there was no more money to sustain him, so that changed that whole thing. And it's a great book. He also talks about the problems that we're going to have in the future, and I had that book now 10 years, I think it was, or maybe a little bit less. And he talks a lot about what Frank writes about. So if you were to compare those two books, you'd be thinking you're reading a blueprint.
Well, this is what happens. I'm reading the book and I'm watching the news and I'm trying to compartmentalize the science fiction, as he says, versus actual life that's happening on TV. And it is uncanny about the facts in here. But to me, it is a message of faith, Frank.
Well, in the book of Revelations, they talk about how all the countries are going to be rallied around against Israel. And that's going to be the final conflict, supposedly. Well, look what's happening over the last few months. You have Russia aligned with China. You have Russia aligned with China, North Korea, Iran. And now Saudi Arabia just signed a treaty, peace treaty with Iran. That's the Sunnis and the Shiites finally signed the peace treaty together.
Wow.
So now you've got Russia aligned with China, North Korea, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Venezuela.
Wow.
If they're aligned with Iran, they're also going to be aligned with Lebanon, Hezbollah, and the Palestinian Front. So look what's happening in the Middle East to see what's going to be happening in the future.
But remember
We
that
gotta go to commercial break.
remember that the Saudi Arabia and Iran had issues because Saudi Arabia made a lot of money with the Western countries making with the oil, and this all comes back again to the oil. So Finland joined, Sweden is going to join. Finland joining NATO is a big problem for Russia because of St. Petersburg, which is on the border, right next to Finland. So all of a sudden, 5 million people live in Finland, 5 million people live in St. Petersburg. So this is a big, big issue. This is why Putin's really upset. But you know, you look at what's happening with these countries, China and North Korea. You're going to have to build up North Korea, and that's how they're getting all this military might now, and they have all these weapons, and the people are starving to death. It just makes no sense.
I
All
saw
of
an
this.
interview by Joe Rogan was interviewing a person that escaped North Korea. And he asked her, well, what's a typical going on in North Korea? Typical, like a household in North Korea. And basically they said they don't have any food and it's tough to get anything done. He goes, but every North Korean house has to have a picture. I forgot his name, whoever the hell North Korea is, whatever his name is. There's a what's his name? Kim Jong-un. They have to have a picture of Kim Jong-un in their house. And they have to keep that picture pristine and dusted and clean. And the North Korean officials send people unannounced to your house to inspect that picture to make sure it's clean. If it's not clean, you're taken to jail.
And that's a leader that you want to follow. That's a person you want to follow. That's
Get all
ridiculous.
your books, get your copies, all of them, they're available here at the Brooklyn Cafe Show. Everything is signed, I'm telling you. They are a must read, especially this week. And if you're not in the area of the Brooklyn Cafe Show or in South Florida, check out Frank's website, frankaruffolo.com. And all those books are available also on Amazon. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we've got Helen Archer with us. We're talking about the alignment of the planets. Kind of interesting how it all plays out today.
It's a good week for it.
Stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Known for his Art Deco Cubist style and compositions with dancing saturated color, Ken Bieberman has lived and breathed art his whole life. From the early 80s, he's influenced the Art Deco district of Miami Beach. Featured in numerous restoration projects, hotels, galleries, and clubs, Bieberman creates for everyday folks and celebrity clientele. He's also the proprietor of Art Repro, a giclée and scanning company in Pompano Beach. When it comes to scanning high resolution, size is not an issue. Professionally scanning art up to 10 feet and 64 inches in width, Art Repro utilizes state-of-the-art equipment. On quality canvas or paper, archival ink and printing mediums are put to use. Art Repro ensures colors are true and every nuance of the art is captured, including the canvas weave. Perfection is the priority. Contact artist Ken Bieberman today at 954-547-0095 or visit his website www.artrepro.net.
Being a successful woman in business means having the courage to own who you are. We understand the challenges faced by women, and we are here to help. Our team is here to develop the best strategy designed just for you. Your path is unique, and with the right tools, you can accomplish your dream. From radio to TV, from podcasting to magazines, we create the visibility to amplify your impact in business. At New Dawn Media, we are here to help bring your message forward and help your business flourish. It is time for your message to be seen and your voice to be heard. Contact us at 866-224-5422 or brooklyncafe.tv. Your voice can make a difference.
Le Sorel Restaurant, home of the authentic Italian tradition, offers a large menu that consists of seafood, steak, homemade pasta, brick oven pizza, and homemade desserts including a wide wine selection. We also have the best bar in Boca Raton with delicious cocktails, homemade limoncello, cappuccino, Italian espresso, brandy, and other specialties, open every day with a lunch and dinner menu. For more information or to make a reservation, contact lesorelrestaurant.com or call 561-235-5301.
There is no way to ignore it. You hear it on the news, online, from your friends and family. What happened to my money? Whether it got hit by falling stocks and bonds, with the coronavirus, shrunk by a floundering 401k with low interest rates, and is riding the extreme ups and downs of the stock market with political elections. Many Americans are worried about their money and how they're going to retire. Help protect your financial future now and call J.D. Mellberg for your complimentary book from a leading financial firm that shows you ways not to run out of money whether the market goes up or down. This free book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms that can protect your money for a lifetime. As a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report summarizing the rates and benefits of annuities from hundreds of top-rated insurers, helping you to find ways to get up to 33% more income in retirement. That's right. 2 books, both absolutely free, for calling J.D. Mellberg. Help protect your financial future.
Call 877-643-3015.
Are you compromising your medical care for doctors out of your network? Are you tired of dealing with referrals to see a specialist? Are you aware that you can save up to $155 a month on your Medicare premiums? You need an all-in-one benefits company that can help with all of your Medicare plan needs. Call today, All-in-One Benefits Group at 954-614-5488. We're here to find an all-in-one plan for you. 954-614-5488. Call today for open enrollment.
Do you have an idea for a show or a podcast? Do you want the opportunity to be on TV? Amp Media Productions is partnered with True Oldies Real Radio Station and powered by many online platforms such as Roku, Facebook, YouTube, and even Amazon Fire to help amplify your impact. Do you want your voice to reach a wide audience? Call us today at 866-224-5422.
South Florida's Good Time Oldies.
Baby, you can drive my car. ABC, easy as 1, 2, 3. Good vibration.
Now, Boca and Delray Beach have their own oldie station. Catch us on 95.3 FM. It's the greatest rock and roll hits of the 60s and 70s.
Let's stick together.
On South Florida's Good Time Oldies, 95.3 FM.
You've been watching the Brooklyn Cafe Show. Join us each day and after hours as we talk about the hot topics to open the conversations and share a few laughs. Now, back to Dawn and Freddie S.
What happened?
Moses, you got
I guess
this.
we back.
We're back.
All
So
right,
we have
so-
a very special member of our crew is celebrating a very special day today. So, Bailey, head on over there to where Baxton is. They have something special for you. We got to say happy birthday to Bailey. I'm going to let Baxton do the honors.
Happy birthday to
you. Happy birthday, dear Bailey. Happy birthday to you. Woo! Happy birthday, Bay.
You know what to do after?
Make your wish.
This may take a day.
She's making her wish. She's got a new birthday hat that was crocheted by our very own Casey. It's got a long wish.
Boy. Where'd she go?
She's
Are you still with
wishing.
us?
She's thinking.
All right, we got to go.
3, 2, 1. Yay! 24 years old. Bailey, wishing you the happiest of birthdays. 24?
Yeah.
Bailey, 24? Yeah, 24. And I know you.
I drink bourbon over there.
I have a pair of shoes that are older than that.
I know, it's kind of crazy, right?
24.
So she's going to serve the cake, and I think she's going to have a special day with her mom. Want to see her first Broadway show, so enjoy that, Bailey. And Baxton, thank you for getting the cake into our crew. She's going to serve it up.
Let her do her thing.
So
All right.
as we do our thing, we have a longtime friend of the cafe. Helen Archer is an astrologist. I'm never quite sure of the right verbiage. Helen, there's a mic right next to you. You can take it out of the stand if you want to. And we met Helen when we were doing Connections with Tracy. And, you know, we're talking and she made a prediction on the wedding pictures, which was kind of funny because you and I had actually talked about this. And then she's talking about the planetary alignment, and we're in Holy Week, and Frank's here. So I thought this would be really great to bring Helen in today also to talk about. We're in a full moon.
Of course we are.
So welcome back, Helen. It's been a while.
I'm so glad to be here.
What is happening with our cosmic life these days?
Well, we do have a full moon. It's going to be full at 12:54 a.m., actually tomorrow. But I just wanted to say that happy birthday, Bailey. So your birthday is on the full moon, so this year will be a culmination for you. And you'll have partnership opportunities that you should take advantage of in order to advance your career.
Thank you so much. I will.
And the other thing is with the full moon, we have the sun in Aries, and Aries is, you know, like the soul entrepreneur. Aries is the creator of ideas. And so Aries likes to work alone and delve into new projects alone. But the moon is in Libra, and so Libra suggests that we work in a team, that we work in partnerships. So going out on your own right now is not really advised because the burden of doing everything by yourself is going to get to be too great. And so having a partner to help you and to do the practical part of like the money part is necessary for Aries. So this is a good time for people to get together. It's also good for family and entertaining. And the other thing is that business deals are made at social occasions. So this is true of Libra. The other thing is legal contracts and business negotiations are favored, but lawsuits relating to health and the home are not favored right now and should be put off at least until June,
Lawsuits?
if possible. So the other thing happening is, so the full moon is opposing, and now in 90-degree aspect to the full moon is Mars in Cancer. So what we need to do right now is detox our homes. Get them as clean as possible, you know, clear out the clutter, the typical spring cleaning. Now is not a good time to start major home improvements. And the reason is because you'll uncover other problems that you'll have to deal with during the Mercury retrograde period, which is going to be starting later on this month. And we don't want to be in the middle of projects with
No.
Mercury
He's shaking his head,
retrograde.
Helen, right now, going, oh,
I'm not
God.
an Aries, and I don't have my rising sun in Libra, so no.
It doesn't matter if you're an Aries or a rising sun in
Everything
Libra.
matters. Everything matters.
It's just things in
I just
alignment.
talk to Frank. Take care of business.
So, home improvements will be a lot better. Jupiter is going to be changing signs to Taurus. And Taurus rules the home also, and that'll be May 17th, which is also the end of the Mercury retrograde period. So if you're going to make home improvements and major things, I would put it off till then. Now, the thing with Mars in Cancer also, there could be water issues, and you could have problems with appliances, so you have to make sure that they're in working order and that no fires could be started. So that's on the domestic front.
What's the positive news? We have any?
The good news is that Venus now entered Gemini.
Love?
And Venus in Gemini is a conciliatory aspect. So, you know, last year we had Mars in Gemini for 6 months, and that was really a problem. It just developed that, you know, people didn't want to get close, people wanted their freedom. And now with Venus in Gemini, I think we can come to terms with that. And also with the Moon in Libra, we'll have positive relations and romance will bloom.
When is that, in June or now?
No, that's now.
Okay.
Well, Venus enters Gemini pretty soon. But anyway, yes, so with Mars in Aries and the Moon in Libra, it's a great time for partnerships.
Partnerships, just don't redo your house right now.
It may drown.
Your house may
Now, the
drown.
health issue is brought on by Mars in Cancer. And so what we have is we have to watch our tummy. We have to have a pure diet. So rich foods are wanted, but shouldn't be encouraged. And to stick to healthy things is going to help everybody out and keep your tummy healthy.
Is there anything good happening?
Relationships. Love.
Relationships are good.
Money.
Yeah,
Business
until they start,
ideals
and then
are
they
good.
go in the toilet. So-
Business partnerships are good.
Business partnerships. Until they start.
contracts-
How do they last? Do they make money? Do they end up fighting? How? Because you got retrograde, you can't sign contracts. So you're going to enter into business, you can't do none of that.
The Mercury is not retrograde yet. It's going retrograde on May 15th.
Oh, so we got some
on
time.
April 21st to May 15th. So now is a positive time to negotiate contracts.
Right, but if you enter a partnership, partnerships are built on multiple
Just
levels.
don't sign it on April 21st.
This is my point. As soon as I'm ready to do a partnership, I can't do anything. I got to tell them to wait
Means
till
you're
when?
stuck with
June?
me. Means you're stuck with me. Sorry. You got to keep going.
You?
Me.
You like to do things alone.
You got
Find out 20 minutes later that you did something. And
Helen, the emails have been blowing up today, and Freddie says, and what's this? This is something I'm working on. What's this? Something else I'm working on.
That's what she does.
And what's this? He looks at me, because you're working on all of this? I'm like, all of this. But it's been a teamwork with the crew. Max, come on in.
So all I want to say is Saturn is now in Pisces.
Of course it
And
is.
it hasn't been there for 30 years.
And what does that
So
mean?
what happened 30 years ago, especially relating to Pisces and Virgo, what happened 30 years ago? This is partnership aspects for you. And so your work that you've been doing for 30 years, your long-term investments that you've made 28 to 30 years ago should start paying off. But you got to have a positive attitude. And this is the main thing. Saturn has a tendency to make you think practical, and therefore you tend to have a negative bent. You know, so you got to stick positive. If you want to attract opportunity and success, you have to remain positive and have faith.
Oh.
And that's the other thing. Saturn in Pisces. Pisces is the sign of the fish. Pisces rules religion. And so faith, prayer, and hope are all important right now. And I think Saturn over the next couple years will improve the relationships between people and their whatever it is belief that they believe in, the church, the synagogue, the ashram, whatever. Get closer to faith and be positive, and opportunities will come to you.
That's
And
very
just so you
similar
know,
to what
Helen
Frank
was
says.
not here for the first segment that we just did.
No, I know that.
Frank, so it's not as if she sat and heard anything that we just said. Kind of timely. I know you laugh at me when I connect the dots.
I don't laugh at you, so don't say things like that. What?
When I connect the dots, but that's what you got to be positive. All
Yes.
the things, all those seeds you planted 30 years ago.
After hearing what she had to say, I'm trying to find something positive.
I think that's all positive. Just don't redo your house.
No,
now.
that's just some of it. But you know, it's
Why are you
challenging
upset about
times.
it?
It's not upset. It's just challenging times. You know, gone are the days when you can wake up in the morning and says, okay, you can do a little something, something. Now, retrograde. I know people that won't sign deals that are good deals because of this retrograde. I get it. I get it. And then the time passes and retrograde is over and the deal's done because it didn't happen at that moment.
So
And
Helen,
usually a
it's
better deal arises. You know,
it's
you get a
full
better
moon.
deal.
Full moon, we've got Passover, Good Friday, Easter coming. What does all of this mean with respect to coming together as families?
Yes, coming together with families, socializing. And so, you know, the conflict will be between work and home. So now it's time to put work aside and in Libra fashion, go home, socialize, enjoy, relax. And you know what? Business deals might happen. You've got to be open. You've got to jump at opportunity. If you hesitate, if you think negatively, if you don't believe, then the opportunities are going to pass you by.
Gotta have faith.
Now, the other thing that can change fates is we're going to have 2 eclipses. So we're going to have eclipse on, look at the dates. The first eclipse date is April 20th. This is, the sun is going to be just at 29 degrees Aries and moving into Taurus. And it's going to be square Pluto. So what happened was Pluto, that was in Capricorn for 20 years, has now moved into Aquarius. And Aquarius is like a global entity. Aquarius is the future. And we're finding that artificial intelligence all of a sudden is coming to the fore. And so there's positives and there's negatives about it. People are, you know, warning about it. So I think during the sojourn or orbit of Pluto in Aquarius, we're going to get on the moon. Maybe we'll get on Mars. It's about a 30-year cycle. And also, we're going to have all these technological improvements, and we're going to be working on them. So it's an exciting time ahead. So now, if you're technologically oriented, if you have inventions, now is the time for you to move ahead. Now is the time to start presenting your plan. Now, in terms of the world order, Aquarius rules freedom. This country was founded on Aquarian principles of democracy, that every man is equal, that everybody has inalienable rights, and that stands firm. Pluto is going to try to overcome that. And so the dictators who have been planning in the last 2 years with Aquarius, Saturn in Aquarius, to overtake people, to limit freedoms and assert control, are not going to make their moves. They feel confident enough now that Pluto has changed signs to make their moves. However, we have to realize that Pluto is just dipping its toes in Aquarius, and so the true start of Aquarian age will be next year. This year, Pluto is going to go 2 or 3 degrees into Aquarius, and then it's going to retrograde, and it retrogrades for a long time. It's going to move back into Capricorn. So all these plans and all these agreements and contracts and negotiations that are troubling, that have been going on recently, the money for them when Pluto goes into Capricorn is going to run out. They're not going to have planned for all the eventualities. And so some of these negotiations, some of these treaties, and some of these, subversions are going to fall apart.
I know, I have to bring it all back together because, again, Helen wasn't here for the beginning of this show. Frank's looking at me with this smirk. We just talked about going to the moon, going to Mars, the dictators, all of these things we just reviewed for the first hour before Helen sat down. Plus Orion's belt, that's in the book that we talked about, the angels, the guardians. The alignment is so uncanny if we can just pull it all together for people.
Now that Mars is out of Gemini, we will be able to pull it together. Mars in Cancer, then Mars goes into Leo, and Leo is a very stable sign, and Leo is like the sign of the executive, the leader, the conqueror. So Leo will put it together. And
Frankly.
Leo, when Mars goes into Leo, and it's going to be opposing Pluto. There's going to be explosions, and what's going to happen is the underground has also been planning its rebellion. It is not going to be controlled. It is not going to allow authoritarian regimes to exist. So the underground is going to explode like a volcano, and people are going to rise up, and they're going to challenge these authoritarian people that they didn't plan for. And the force of the resistance is going to be so strong as they have never seen before. And that's what's going to explode everything.
Oh my gosh. Frank, that's in this book too.
Oh, well.
I am like on a mic drop moment is all I can say. We're going to move some cameras around. Stay tuned. We're going to take a commercial break. More to come with the alignment of everything that's going on here. Plus, we've got Max Fish and Laura Sanders talking about mortgages and real estate. And maybe it's a good time to buy. Let's see. More to come. We'll be right back.
Born in Marseille, France, Max Lazega creates whimsical and free-flowing interpretive art. His 40 years in the construction industry created the foundation for his craft. His unique work displays his view of the future with bold and playful combinations of materials and processes, but the methodology remains consistent. He fuses recycled materials and discarded building supplies into a fresh, well-executed approach. Lazega has lived in Miami, Florida most of his life, where he pursues his lifelong passion of creating industrial art. For more information, contact Max Lazega at artworkstudios.org or 786-326-8873.
Meet Jay Harmon, one of the many artists held in the Brooklyn Cafe Gallery. Jay specializes in various different art styles, but his medium to work with is colored pencils. His unique style comes from being self-taught and years of practice. Jay pulls his inspiration from many outlets like people, television, celebrities, and many more. With multiple original pieces, Jay's art graces the gallery with over 40 plus works for viewing and for purchase. His many years of being an artist has given him a chance to partner with the Derwent brand, giving him the opportunity to try many different work styles and further his craft. Feel free to come down and visit the studio to view his work, or if you're interested in your own Jay Harmon original, he's open to commissions on his website, coloredpencilartist.com, or catch his show, The Colored Pencil Artist, on Amp Media Productions on YouTube and Facebook. See you soon.
What would you do if you had a broken bone? You'd go to the doctor and use your insurance, right? What would you do if you had a serious problem with drugs and alcohol? Most people do nothing until it's too late. Your insurance can help you get clean and sober with the assistance of a place like the Detox and Treatment Helpline. Many times treatment is fully covered, so why not use your insurance to treat your addiction problem just like you would if you had a broken bone? And with the Family Medical Leave Act, you're allowed by law to take off time from work, and your employer doesn't need to know the reason. So there are two good reasons. You've got insurance you can use for your addiction problem, and with the Family Medical Leave Act, it's completely confidential. Call us right now and save a life.
Call 855-350-4504. That's 855-350-4504. Call 855-350-4504 now.
Want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call, because the best prices are not online. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner. Call today and get the best price on your next flight, guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first class tickets.
Artist Rosie Sherman paints her passions to share with everyone. Expressing herself through bold and vibrant colors, her suggestion and style are always in flux. Inspired by travels, nature, romance, and the human spirit, Rosie makes sure her depiction of women are strong and proud. Her landscapes illustrate the changing seasons in the diverse world that we live in. To find her artwork in the multiple medias you can purchase, visit rosiesherman.pixels.com.
Brand new shows, only on AMP2 TV. We have all-in-one insurance. Latin Hustle Goncaden. Meta Magazine Show. Pitch 2 Production. The Florida Love Show. The Sixth Borough. Meet the Experts. Reinvented Life. Lights in the Night. And The Hangout. Tune in so you don't miss these amazing new shows. Only on AMP2 TV.
You've been watching the Brooklyn Cafe Show. Join us each day and after hours as we talk about the hot topics to open the conversations and share a few laughs. Now, back to Dawn and Freddie S.
Gone away, and you've been gone away for too long. Stay away, 'cause you're not coming back in no more. Go ahead, grapple on your knees while you get no more of me. Go ahead, baby, beg and please, 'cause without you I'll be free. When I leave you for the floor, when I turn around once more, when I look in your eyes dead, while I love the beat instead. When it all comes down, for all that it's worth, the better or worse, the love and the hurt. And when it hits the ground, the rumble, the feeling, the constantly giving my love for the rhythm that you la 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 love, la 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 love, la 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 love, my love for the rhythm that you la 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 love, la 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 love, la 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 love, my love for the rhythm. Look away, 'cause seeing the change is gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. Feel away, 'cause it's been the only one that puts me first. Puts me first. Go ahead, grapple on your knees while you get no more of me. Go ahead, baby, beg and please, 'cause without you I'll be free. When I leave you for the floor, when I turn around once more, when I look in your eyes dead, while I love the beat instead. When it all comes down, for all that it's worth, for better or worse, the love and ground, the rumble, the feeling, the constantly giving my love for the rhythm that you la 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 love, la 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 love, la 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 love, my love for the rhythm that you la 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 love, la 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 love, la 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 love, my love for the rhythm that you. My love for the rhythm that you. When it all comes down, for all that it's worth, for better or worse, the love and the hurt. And when it hits the ground, the rumble, the feeling, the constantly giving my love for the rhythm that you.
And we're back, and that music is brought to you by.
Priscilla.
Yes.
Signed
Was
by King Records. And
King
she was in
Records.
yesterday. More to come. Hopefully she'll come in one day and actually sing the song for us.
Yes, we're gonna also. I'm gonna talk to her about putting a video. I'm gonna talk to King and see if we can put a video together for that piece. Nice music. She wrote that music in 20 minutes.
It's pretty. We see
Chris.
the opportunity. That I love that part of the story.
There was an urgency call, and she had to do it, and she came up with it. And the music is fantastic.
I'm in palm tree heaven today. It's spring. things to do.
Yeah, and Frank is wearing all of them.
I'm telling you, who knew? But, you know, it's just the way it rolls out in here. But we're going to talk mortgages. We've got Laura Sanders, host of Making Money with Laura Sanders, and Max Fish of Nationwide Mortgage here, seeing what's going on in the housing market. Interest rates are up, interest rates are down. You're in the middle of trying to sell your house, I know.
You know, it's funny because I want to talk to them. I have my own
Just don't
philosophy.
redo your house until June.
You're going to stay on that path. You know, the psychological aspects, and I'm going to ask Laura if it's true or not, where people say that the housing market got soft. And I don't think that was true. I think that was a rumor because they wanted to bring the prices down to the houses because the market was so on fire.
Max said he's had his busiest month ever.
So it had, okay, so let's do this a different way. Is it the market getting soft, or is it the psychology of softening it to try to get people to slow down? What do you think? Who wants to go first?
You'll take that one?
Sure. Just pick up your mic.
Grab that
Grab
mic.
your mic.
I would say, is this on?
Yes, it's on.
Okay. I think it is the psychology of it because people are buying. They're not buying. I think that if you tell people that prices are going to drop, they're going to believe that. And it's supply and demand, right? So actually inventory is still low, so which would still create people to want homes. So what I think has happened, in my opinion, now you know what they say about opinions. In my opinion, I think that you tell people one thing, they're going to go after that. If you tell them something different, then they're going to go that way. So they think that prices are going to drop, so they were waiting to see. They're like, well, if interest rates go up, prices will drop. I have clients that back in November were waiting, and now I went back and showed them that same house, same model, is now $200,000 in some neighborhoods more, and they're kicking themselves in the butt. See, I didn't say the other word. I'm just kidding. So I then have to like sit down psychologically and explain to them, did you see what was going on when I told you back when they were 6%? And they were saying, well, you know, it's got to go down. I go, but yeah, but even if it goes down, then the interest rates continue to go up because that's what continues to make it go down. And honestly, even I'm confused. Like, I don't even know what to think. But I know that for many, many years, I had people in 2015, 16, 17 were selling their homes saying, I want to get out before the bottom drops out. Because it's like a mutual fund. It goes up and down, right? And if you look at what happens over time, you'll see that over time, things will always do the same thing again. And it just really hasn't. We're all confused. And this is what I tell you. If you need a place to live and you can afford the house, what does it matter? Buy the house. You're not buying it just to buy it. You're buying it because you need to live somewhere. If you have a job and you can afford it, then buy the house.
It was interesting when you were interviewing Max last week. It still sticks in my head, a quarter point, and he talks about $44 a month for that quarter point. But yet that quarter point people freak out over. Maybe that quarter point is worth it if you're getting it for $200,000 less. You're better at getting it at the higher interest rate for the $44 or even $88, whatever it is. It's still less than the $200,000.
But even interest rates always go down. So the opportunity to refinance, and I think Max is offering something that is amazing. So it's a free refinance within 5 years.
Indefinitely.
That's even better. So what are you worried about? Like,
wait.
Wait
on
a
someone's home?
Wait a minute.
You're doing
now
a
there's still
free
doc
refinance?
stamps and stuff. There's some fees that he can't, and I want to make that clear only because I never want somebody to come back and be like, you're a liar. There's always going to be doc stamps when you refinance a house. Like, that's inevitable. If you do it in the first 2 years, you'll get some discounts on it, but he can't control certain fees. But his fees will be completely eliminated, correct?
Correct. So what I'm telling people, and what I have been telling people in the past 7 or 8 months, is that for all returning clients indefinitely, meaning there's no expiration date on this, for all returning clients that come back to me, I'll help them refinance into a lower rate based off of the given market of that day at zero bank costs. So no underwriting fees, no appraisal fees, no credit report, no processing. All of that stuff that equates to, few $1,000s will, be absent in the event of a refinance.
Wow.
So if I buy something today and my interest rate is 8%, for argument's sake, and then things start to cool off in 2 years, and I call you up and it's 5% available, you will do all that minus the bank fees.
Correct. You won't be charged a single
Now
dollar.
that is a hell of a deal. That's almost guaranteeing you that if the market does get better in the
You're gonna save money.
interest rates, then you should get in. I think that, I gotta tell you, I am so happy to hear you guys say this, because it drives me crazy. It drives me nuts when people are holding on to things or not buying them. I had this argument with G over the weekend. That's just rumors. They want you to think that a quarter point is the end of the world. They want you to think that there are no houses being bought, so the market has got to get soft. That's not true. My house has gone up in value because I did some investigation work on it in the community, and it's gone in this direction, not in this direction. Now, maybe your buyers, they want to buy it for less, so they're going to tell you, don't you see the market is going down? No, it's not true. Now, the qualifications for getting a mortgage, have they gotten easier or more difficult with the interest rates going up?
Well, it's definitely, it's a give and take, right? Because interest rates have gone up, which in turn raises somebody's monthly payment, let's just say, right? So the qualification gets a little bit more difficult because those monthly payments are a little bit higher. But with that, prices have come down a little bit, so that kind of offsets that a little bit. And then, the entities that back these loan types in environments like this try to make it easier to qualify. So, for example, FHA mortgage insurance has almost been cut in half just in the past 3 months.
Wow.
The Department of HUD came out and almost cut that in half. Not a full, it was cut about 40%. And so that's the difference of, let's just say somebody's mortgage insurance was $300 a month, now it's $200 a month, or $175 a month. And
But
so
they
that,
won't go backwards to people that have already done it, right?
No, unfortunately.
So you can't get that off. So
it's all moving forward. But to answer your question, that makes it easier. And those types of things have definitely helped offset the rise in interest rates along with the prices dropping. But to answer your initial question, because I think it's important, a lot of this doesn't come down to math. It is all psychology, in my opinion, right? Because as Don referenced last week, or 2 weeks ago, I said that, it's really not that much of a difference per tick in interest rate. And in the break, we were just talking about how rates went up to 7%, and now they're back down, let's just say in the mid fives, high fives, and people are like, I'm getting such a good deal. I'm getting a low interest rate. But when rates went from 2% to 5.5 was the end of the world. So it really didn't come down to math. It was all about the psychology between buying a house and renting. And I think, and Laura, maybe you could attest to this, I believe that sometimes people are really looking for a reason to talk themselves out of doing it, out of buying a house. And I think it's media driven a lot. When rates were in the 2%, it's the best time to buy a house. Everybody was being told it was the best time. Well, people were value, but
so it really wasn't free money.
So that wasn't what was being pushed, though.
Free money was
it was
being
the
pushed.
lower interest rates.
Yeah.
It wasn't how much over you're going to have to spend to make it happen. And now it's not about prices have come down, maybe it's a little bit more affordable. It's about look at how high interest rates are. And so I do think it comes down to just, it's not math. It's like 20% math and 80% behavior, in my opinion.
I agree. I gotta tell you, and it's so refreshing to hear that with people that are professionals in the business, because you can get into this argument with household members or people. Sometimes, you're really afraid to make a commitment to buy a house. It's just, you gotta be prepared to do this thing. A lot of kids nowadays, if you tell me that it's tough to get a job and hold on to a job, the other side of the equation is you gotta want to go to work, but that's a different conversation. If you can get a job and you want to get a house, then go for it. If you're telling me that it's hard to have one job, two jobs, three jobs, and then you're going to say, that's why I don't get a house, I'll buy that. But this whole psychology about pricing and that it's gotten cooler, It's all nonsense.
Because sometimes it's not the house or the interest rate. You were telling me about your HOA, where it started when you bought the house to where it is now.
It's ridiculous.
It was affordable at the time, but now it's not the house,
But I
and
got
it's not the interest
But
rate.
I got to tell you, what Laura says is 100% right. It doesn't matter what the pricing is, because these houses, even at this number,
They hold it.
they're going to go up to twice. I'm thinking if I hold out another 10 years, I'm going to topple 5 million. I'm going to tell you something. It's just that crazy.
We were talking about Brad Pitt. He bought his house in 1994. It was, what, 1.9, and he just sold it for 39 million?
That's what I was going to say.
Right?
So the other day, I ran into a doctor who I had sold a house to back in 14 years ago. I sold her this house. And at the time, and it was funny because when I ran into her the other day when I was walking, I said to her, it's kind of funny, isn't it? Because now her kids are leaving for college this year. And I said, oh, I'm going to have to sell that house. And I said, isn't it funny how you were freaking out 14 years ago buying a $900,000 house? And I go, and what it's worth today? And she's like, yeah, like, it is crazy. Like, I mean, when I tell you, like, having like an absolute like freak out, oh my God, this is like $900,000. Like, this is so much money. And you look back 14 years later, and this is what I'm telling people. I'm not trying to sell you a house, because I'll be the first person to say, I probably wouldn't buy that house. It backs to this or it does that, right? But you're worried about something today, and in 10 years from now, you're going to laugh at this. And you're going to be like, I can't believe I was freaking out.
I'm laughing.
Right. But you can't understand that when you've never experienced it. And there's so many people. It's kind of like this. Like, now that I'm so old, now I know my mother is so smart. But yet my mom was so stupid when I was 18, right? She doesn't listen anyway. So but she's so smart. It's the same thing. Like, we have experiences that other people don't have experiences. And for those people that are now 32 and hadn't bought a house ever, right? Because people are living longer with their parents. Things have changed. Dynamics have changed. Just like, you know, when people got married, I don't know, Dawn, did you get married when you were 21? Like, a lot of people back in your day got married at 21. Like, now people aren't getting married till 30, 35. Guys are getting married at 45, and you're seeing them having babies. Like, to me, it's the same thing. You don't understand what you don't know. And to look back 10 years later and say, oh my God, I'm so glad I bought that house. And that's what I try to explain to people is that it seems hard now, but if you can afford the payment, in 10 years from now, you're going to be like, I'm so glad I did that.
Well, it's funny because when we bought, everybody laughed at me. They says, are you insane? And they laughed, and they laughed. And 11, 12 years later, they ain't laughing no more. So I want to even talk about changing strategies, because I'm beginning to think the longer I wait, okay, if I can live to see the glory of that day of selling it, then maybe the better off I am. So why not rent the house? Because there's always a buyer that's looking for rent, and you got to have a house to get the number that you want. Of course, I understand that. And see the value of it continue to grow and continue to grow. And I'm going to tell you something. It's a scary, scary maybe. Because back in the day, when I said to myself, I'm going to buy a 3 and sell a 7, I'll be happy with that. And we shattered that years ago. And it just keeps going. So why should I stop it? So if I can rent it and get something smaller because I don't need all that room, why not? The philosophy has changed.
No,
Tell me.
Well, that changes, and now that brings in more people into the equation to make a better informed decision on that decision. For instance, tax liabilities.
That's the other problem I was going to bring up.
Right. So if you're not married, if you're not legally married, right, you got to be legally married to get the benefit of $500,000. I'm not an accountant, nor do I pretend to be one, but this is very understood information, which a lot of people don't know, believe it or not. So if you sell that house, the first $500,000 is going to be tax free. You don't need to. A lot of people, especially New Yorkers, come to me and they go, "Oh, well, I gotta get this money, into a new house." No, you don't. I mean, if you paid $3 for it, and if it's now worth $8, The 5 is tax-free. Now, if you're putting a new roof on it, you've done remodeling and you've got all your receipts and you haven't written all those off over the years, or if you're carrying over all that stuff. And again, this is where you need an accountant to really get into the crux of this, because this is very important to understand. So this is when you have to sit down and analyze, does it make sense for you? Because now, remember, when you go to rent this, you're now going to lose your tax benefit. Your tax with the, Palm Beach County, right? Because you're in Palm Beach County, you're going to lose your tax benefit. So if your taxes, because you bought it at such a low price, are at $5,000, and from what I'm hearing, it sounds like you might be in over $1 million range, right? The new taxes are going to be somewhere around $20,000, $25,000. So remember, when you divide out by 12 what your expense is going to be on your rent, you got to take that into consideration.
Right, you got to find the number. No, I get that.
Right. So, like I said, this is where I sit with clients and I say, let's analyze to see how this makes sense for you, because now where you thought maybe the rents are going for $8,500, right? Now you've got to take this $20,000, divide it by 12, subtract that from your 85.
Right.
Then you have an HOA fee. You got to subtract that. Then you've got to take, in consideration insurance and whatever you're paying. And if you go to try to change your policy from an owner's policy to a rental policy, now they're probably going to it's going to end up being more money, which typically used to be less, because now to get a policy is almost impossible. So you wouldn't want to keep your policy, because if something happens, insurance might not cover you because you weren't the one living in there.
So the insurance can blow up the deal. Okay, I got it.
Right. So what I'm
Makes
saying
sense.
is now you're going to, because you're going to port taxes over to a new home if you're going to buy. And again, this is where you have to sit down and analyze this. I know this is like very boring for some people, and
No,
for some
no,
people they're
it
like, wow,
makes
this
a
is
lot
like
of sense.
Chinese, and
It makes a lot of sense about what's happening in the
Right.
market today.
We
There's
So-
only one option.
I just went through all of this, and I got to tell you, that $500,000 that comes off your taxes is. We didn't realize that was even a thing when we sold the house. We just
It's
knew it
called
was
the
time.
1010 or something, the 1030. I don't know.
No, you're thinking of 1031 exchange. Now that's different, and that talks about investment properties, and that's when you're selling an investment and you're transferring over money into another investment, and you have to spend the same or more money, and it can be multiple properties. You could buy 5 properties that total the amount of the sale that you're trying to 1031 exchange.
And you don't pay any tax on the exchange.
But it can't come from your residential home.
Right. You can't do it from your
Right, it's
residential
on the
home. So,
investments,
for
okay.
instance, like if your house had more than $500,000 after, like, you pay the realtor and all these other expenses, right? Now that money's all going to be taxed. Okay? You're from New York. I'm sure you're creative. But
Sometimes, yes.
But again, if you're not married, it's only $250,000 that you get. So a lot of people live as domestic partners. You might be able to get $250,000 each if you're not married, and you each are each have ownership of the property.
But your names
you-
have to be on the deed,
Both
right?
your names need to be on the deed. And again, I'm not an attorney. I'm not a, I
I'm
want
glad
to make
you
it
told me
clear.
that, because I was not sure about that.
Yeah.
But that makes a huge difference.
Hmm. And you can put it on now. I mean, that's fine.
No, it's there.
Yeah.
I have my Moses stick. I'm very happy
Yeah.
today.
Anyway, I could go on and on about this stuff, like dissertations, like.
I know we got to
want-
take a break, but I also want to ask Max about your generation buying their home. That mortgage insurance, I remember we first bought our home. $300 a month was a lot of money on top of your first house. This makes a huge difference. And you say it's $150. $150 when you're paying groceries and you've got a young family, it's $150, especially with insurance and everything else that we're buying into,
Yeah, but he has mortgages that fit almost every lifestyle,
which is important.
which you have to have a professional understand your life so he could fix it and give you the best opportunity. But this refinance thing, that's a game changer there, baby. I'm going to tell you something. That is a game changer. I used to sell mortgages at 12, 14%. So I tell my son, 7.5%, really? And you grew up in a house, it was 14%. Yeah, Dad, but the money ain't the same. I said, no, Gio, you make more than I did. Okay, so don't tell me if you don't find a will, there's not a way. You keep waiting, and you're going to wait, and you're going to talk yourself out of doing this. But I wanted to talk about mortgage.
Let's see it on the other side of the commercial break. More to come. Give us a call, 888-994-4995, Studio A. More information on this by Wednesday. And we'll be right back.
Welcome to AMP2 TV, the first and only internet production company that's truly plugged in. When you're looking for a full-service internet radio, TV production company, discover AMP2 TV. AMP2 TV is a full-service media company that can provide all streaming videos, video studios, radio studios, and television studios. Call us today at 866-224-5422, for no business is too small to grow to be accounted. It's time for your message to be seen. Let AMP2 TV help get you there.
Stephanie Jaffe is a world-renowned artist who creates one-of-a-kind pieces. Using a keen sense of color and composition, her vibrant collages and mosaics integrate eclectic elements such as vintage keepsakes and fine china with blown glass and fired clay to create whimsical arrangements. For more information about her work, come down to the Brooklyn Cafe TV studio or go to stephaniejaffeart.com.
Has someone in your family lost a job recently, and now you can't afford your mortgage payment? Or do you have a rental property and your tenants aren't paying you? We can come to the rescue and pay you cash for your home immediately. Yes, sell your home and get cash all over the phone without dealing with real estate agents or having to waste time showing your home to lukewarm buyers. You don't need to lose your house to foreclosure. If you have equity in your home, we'll buy your home and give you cash within days, all in a simple over-the-phone and virtual process. Call now before your situation gets worse. Sell a home you can't afford or just need anymore and get the cash you need today. Call this number now.
Call 855-348-5925. That's 855-348-5925. Again, 855-348-5925.
Tax audits, tax liens, wage garnishments.
Every day we hear stories like this about good folks who are simply struggling to pay their bills. Each of them are living a frightening IRS tax nightmare, and they are afraid it will destroy their lives.
I'm a divorced single mom, and my ex-husband left me and the kids with a lot of unpaid bills, including unpaid taxes. I was really starting to show my stress on my kids because the IRS had sent me a letter demanding a huge payment from me. I couldn't afford it. So then the IRS was threatening to garnish my wages. I'm already living paycheck to paycheck. That would have put me over the edge financially.
It truly seemed hopeless, but then a friend at work told her to call the tax relief line.
The people at the tax relief line, they told me about something called innocent spouse relief. They worked it out so that all of the taxes from my ex are not my problem. I don't know how that works, and I don't care. All I care about is that I don't owe the IRS a dime, and they are not going to take my paycheck.
Even if it seems hopeless, you should call the number on your screen right now. There is absolutely no cost for the call or the consultation. You are under no obligation. If you are worried that the IRS could garnish your wages, seize your assets, even take your home, call us right now. The Tax Relief Line is here to help you. Now you have a knowledgeable, professional team of tax experts that are ready to negotiate with the IRS and fight for you to save you money. The Tax Relief Line's professionals have successfully negotiated thousands of cases, reducing and sometimes even eliminating the tax debt for their clients. It's very easy to get started. Simply call the number on your screen right now. You don't have to live in fear anymore. The call and the consultation are free.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 855-993-2180. That's 855-993-2180. Again, 855-993-2180.
Come on down to the Brooklyn Cafe and enjoy our delicious 100% Arabica organic coffee. You can also tune into the Brooklyn Cafe Show and have the chance to win a free bag. For more information on how to get your own bag, check us out at thebrooklyncafe.tv.
Hey Kaylee, what's up?
Hey, nothing, what's up?
Nothing, just looking for music for Grandpa that I listen to while we're in the car.
What's wrong with listen to now?
Let's just say we have different tastes, you know?
Why don't you try listen to a podcast on Spotify?
Like which one?
The Broken Cafe Studio one is really good.
Okay, I'll try that one out, thanks.
It's lunchtime and the Brooklyn Cafe is open for business. Live from the AMP Media Studios, Dawn and Freddie S. and their team are ready to serve up a huge portion of fun for lunch with friends and neighbors. So let's break open that lunch pail and unwrap that sandwich you brought. You've been watching the Brooklyn Cafe Show. Join us each day and after hours as we talk about the hot topics to open the conversations and share a few laughs. Now, back to Dawn and Freddie S.
And here you have it. Let's see, I spy where Freddie might be is all I can say. Wednesday at the Brooklyn Cafe Show. I do not know where he has been, but we're talking mortgages, refinancing, and you're going to fill in? You got questions?
I don't have any questions.
Everything about buying a house?
Can I get an apartment for $100 a month rent?
You'd be surprised that wasn't the first time this month that I've been asked a question like that.
Mobile gas station bathroom.
That's kind of what they told him today.
Well, I
probably get a storage unit.
A1.
Storage unit for that one?
Storage unit.
No, they're more than 100 now.
Oh, okay.
What are people needing to qualify for new homes?
Actually, a good idea, though.
What are people needing to qualify?
How many months?
Yeah, so I guess it just depends on their situation. The easiest way to kind of break it apart is self-employed or W-2 employee. If you're a W-2 employee, you actually don't need to show tax returns. Just W-2s, pay stubs, and the last 2 months of bank statements. If you're self-employed, however, you need the last 2 years of tax returns to have been self-employed for 2 years, and it's based off of your net income after deductions, not your gross income. Whereas for W-2 employees, it's about gross income. So, those are the two differences, really.
So it always gets complicated, all in the taxes.
It's already complicated enough.
I
didn't
know.
understand any of that.
Welcome to adulting.
I don't want to adult. I don't want to.
Welcome to adulting. Frank, how long have you and Chris lived in your house?
20 years.
Gone up in value, I'm sure, a lot.
A lot.
Did you ever think? Do you ever think when you guys bought it, it would actually?
Not as much as it is now, no.
No, at the time you're looking at a place to live, like Laura said. You're looking, right, you want to raise your kids, place to live or retire or move. Next thing you know, the kids are moving out and you're looking for new things. And now you're just in the throes of growing a family in your house.
Yes, ma'am. So they say the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the next best time is today. So I think that bodes, that kind of draws parallels to home buying, right? I think that's just the gist of what we've been talking about is it's never really a bad time. History shows us that, that's true, give or take a couple years. But yeah, I'm expecting my first child in 2 months. It's a boy. And I was a little bit of an older soul, kind of to piggyback off of what you guys were talking about earlier. I bought my first home at 23, and I got married at 24. So I've reaped the benefits of buying a home early. So I'm a big proponent of that. I've never rented a day in my life. And so I lived at home until I was 23, bought my first house, and then I lived in there. The prices doubled, and I sold it for a profit. So pretty much just lived for free for 3 years because I made all my money back plus some, got paid to buy a house. It's pretty much how I looked at it. And then I rolled that into a bigger purchase, and then some of that proceeds rolled it into a rental property. So, you know, I practice what I preach in regards to home purchasing. So I did that young, and the reason I'm a big proponent of it is because I tell people all the time, similar in age to me, and even younger, that are thinking about purchasing a home, I couldn't have done what I've done financially up to this point in my life without purchasing a home at a young age, and starting to grow that equity, and being able to say that I haven't ever thrown away money on rent, because they say rent is 100% interest. So what are you worried about? That interest rates are 7%, you're paying 100% right now. You
That's
know,
true.
so when you put it into perspective, it really, again, finance, 80% behavior, 20% math. You know, and that's what it comes down to.
It's true. I started early also. I was paying rent, and I hated it. And I got a job in the mortgage business. And I bought my first one, and then I bought my second, and then I bought my third, until I bought about 49 of them. And the money was so stupid, because there's no other word for it. I didn't know how to spend it. It was just ridiculous. I was buying things that were just ridiculous. I was eating lunch in Florida when I lived in New York, and then going to dinner in Boston. It was stupid money. I mean, stupid money. But I understood mortgages.
You wish now that you put it away?
Well, this is the other problem. See, Freddie doesn't know how to save money. So Freddie wanted to save the world. If there was a whale in Antarctica that needed a loan, Freddie would give him the money.
I see the Amazon boxes in the back.
Don't be a wise guy. But the funny thing is that, and then I took my eye off the prize, because instead of doing like you guys do, and this is a job, the money was so silly that it turned into a hobby, and I got away from it being a job. And I used to wake up in the morning, and you know what my job would be? I'm gonna go paint a hallway. I'm gonna go talk to the tenants. I'm gonna go buy Thanksgiving something. I'm gonna buy my tenants dinner. Because if you had a happy tenant in my world, you got your rent.
Sure.
Never chased my rent, they paid it. And then I started selling and flipping and selling, because back in the day you were allowed to do this thing. And I'll never forget Michelle's mouth one day. She came home and she saw all the D's and all the paper. She says, "Who owns all this?" And says, "Well, you do." She said, "What?" And with millions of dollars. It was the most ridiculous game in the world. But if you understood what you were doing, you made money at it. How to dress up a house, curb appeal, a lot of the things that Laura, and sometimes when I watch her show, a tear. Remember that American Indian about how the country would destroy? A tear runs down my cheek, because back in the day, man, what you guys talk about was so real. And you don't have to be a scientist. You just have to surround yourself with people that know what they're doing. And you'll be surprised, even in today's market, you gotta buy right. You gotta buy smart. I didn't get a window person. I got my own crew. I put my own crew on payroll to fix my homes, because it was cheaper than getting a guy to come in. Changed my life. I needed a pool, they would dig it up. A hot tub, they took a rope and put it around this tree that was 300 feet tall. And they had the hot tub swing into position by the pool.
I hear no permits anywhere.
I'm sorry, who?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I knew that there was definitely not the word permit in your name.
I got banged out for not having a permit, and I went to court, and I lost. And the judge says it's going to be $5,000 fine.
And you were like, I'll take it.
I said, here's the $5,000. And then I said, here's $3,000, Your Honor. You could put this wherever you want, towards kids, whatever you want, cancer, whatever. He looked at me, "Are you being a wise guy with me?" He says, "No, sir. And if you find it insulting, I'll take it back and I'll do it on the outside. But I think you're right. I didn't play by the rules and I got caught." But the money was so stupid. When I tell you stupid, it was ridiculous.
But Freddie, you know what's interesting about what you're saying? It's going through my mind, because I think 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years later, it's still like that. I mean, that's how people gain generational wealth is through real estate most of the time. But I feel like that, especially in today's day and age, we're all about like, hey, let's like try to like reinvent the wheel here. Like, that people gained money in real estate 30 years ago. It's not the same now. And I mean, unless you guys are seeing something I don't see I don't see things have changed that much.
They haven't.
You know, in the sense of, you said this money was so great and you did it through real estate. Well, then why are we trying to reinvent the wheel? You know, I think that's key. And Lauren, I'd like to hear your opinion on that. I think that's key with people that are like, oh, well, you know, kind of missed the boat on real estate. It's like, I really don't feel like that exists. You know, and that's just my perspective. I was thinking about it the entire time you were talking.
But you have to remember, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
It's a game of risk. You don't know.
It's no.
Well,
Okay,
if you
so
don't have
first
it,
of all,
you've
you
got-
have to be willing to take risks. If you can't
Exactly.
take risks, and if you listen, I can remember when I bought my first place, I was 20, and when I then at 22 started pulling out equity and buying and buying and buying. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna buy 20 of these a year. No, I'm not. That's way too much like stress.
It's a lot of work.
But I could tell you at 22, and there's this guy that I met. His name was Radham Tal-Shahar, and I actually texted him on Thanksgiving to tell him I was so thankful for ever meeting him because he changed my life. And I wouldn't be where I'm at today without him really being like almost like, and he's my age, a coach behind me telling me like, hey, like just suck it up. Like, you're going to be okay, and you're going to see the wealth this is going to create, right? So he said to me, I started crying because I had to get a plumber to go out. And, $100 and something dollars, and $100 and something dollars, and $100 and something dollars, it adds up. When I was 22, working in a mental health facility as a therapist, I was only bringing home $1,151 biweekly. So I'm bartending at night and I'm doing real estate part-time and I'm buying these properties and, people are falling through ceilings and like I was buying in places that I had no business buying in. And I'm crying like, oh my God, like I have to pay, I'm strong now today. Today I'll tell you, oh, you're not happy? Move. Like, that's okay. Because I fix everything, not personally, but you have to have a really strong skin to do real estate.
What's the best way for people to reach you, to buy a home, condo, anything in the
Or
real
just
estate
get therapy?
market? Therapy, anything that you all need.
954-650-0827. Again, 954-650-0827. Or they can go to lauracell.com and I'd be more than happy to help them.
Oh, come when you do your show. When is your show?
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Making Money with Laura, and tomorrow we're going to talk about have a therapist coming on tomorrow night, and we're going to talk about workplace bullying and how that affects people's, production and what they do, and I think it's really important to have a good mental state when you're at work.
Also, it affects families that are looking to buy in communities. If their kid's been bullied in school, it really changes. I got a story to tell you.
Happens a lot.
Man, it happens a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
And Max, for you.
Call Laura. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
And I'll give you his number.
The best place to reach me is 954-729-6933. That's 954-729-6933. And that's my personal cell phone. You can call or text me any time of the day.
And get to know these professionals.
He said day, not night.
If you're gonna make a move,
Baby's on the way.
get to know these professionals. I got to tell you, my accountant and I did the mortgage, and my attorney, I took them to lunch or dinner every month because they have the latest and the greatest. They're gonna know about taxes. They're gonna know about insurance because they're in this game as well, and they want you to be successful as well. And if you do business with this gentleman and you buy and you want to refinance at a smaller rate in the future, I'm going to tell you something. That's a deal maker. Take advantage of that.
Sure.
And I'm telling you, a guy that was in the game for 19 years and made a lot of money at it, that was never, ever, and I used to be in his position, I can never offer that. That's unbelievable.
It's amazing. And Frank, your books, I'm afraid to ask Frank what's in his next book. I got to tell you.
What's in your next book?
He's got a lot there for me to read after I finish
What's
this
in
one.
the next one?
Yeah.
It's going to be the end of the
Oh, God.
sci-fi series.
It's always the end of something, Frank.
The end of the sci-fi series. It's called Samuel of Sarah. It's going to describe the God's retribution.
I gotta ask you before we say goodbye, how's the movie making business in
Oh,
Florida?
good.
How are we getting? Are we getting closer? Any movement? What are we doing?
Movie making business is actually taking a step back. They want to.
Oh, Lord.
Florida wants to dissolve all the commissioners.
We're going in the wrong
We're
direction.
going in the
Frank.
wrong
Going
direction.
in the wrong direction. And how about the movie for Stuck in Traffic?
That's being worked on. LJ and we're going to be working together soon, so
Nice.
that's coming around. I've got Blue Falcon, that's coming around too. So keep your fingers crossed. It's
All the
coming.
books are available right here. I'm telling you, hard to believe they're sci-fi because there's a whole lot of truth in Frank's books. And Helen, what's the message of the week for Holy Week, cosmically?
Togetherness. Be with other people. Don't try to do it on your own.
That's a good message.
That's a good message.
It is a good message, and it's time for that. We've been apart too long.
Walk in faith.
True.
Faith, hope, come together as a family. And no one should spend the holidays alone. So if you've got two people spending it alone and you spend it together, makes it all better.
1 and 1 equals 2.
Or 11, as my grandfather used to say.
Even better.
Have a great day, everyone. Happy Passover to all of those that celebrate. Chag Sameach, happy and healthy. And we will see you tomorrow, 9 a.m. drive time. Actually, 3 o'clock today. New show launching, Wisdom Cafe with Arthur Tastinello. How to find your love and happiness through change and second chances. 3
Good
o'clock
stuff.
right here.
All right.
See you tomorrow.
Don't be late.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's about it for today. Even though the show's over, the Broken Cafe is always open for business. You're invited to join the fun every day from 12 to 2. If you missed some of the laughs from today, Dawn and Freddie S. will bring you more good cheer next time. You can follow the Brooklyn Cafe on Facebook at the Brooklyn Cafe TV to rewatch every minute of the show. We'll see you next time.